Happy Saturday, everybody. This is, I guess, a little bit of a different type of video. So, I want to talk a little bit about, I guess, nature versus nurture and how it relates to music. So, more specifically, I was reading something and it was a quote, and it's not even important who it says, but you'll understand this a little bit. So, it was about music, and it said that musical preferences seem to be mainly shaped by a person's cultural upbringing and experiences rather than biological factors. So I started thinking a little bit. So when it comes to music, is it nature versus nurture that determines one, the type of music that you like, and two, um, how good of a musician you are, and the third one is the type of music that you play. So this is ironic. My best friend happens to be Italian, and he's actually a classical guitarist, and he went to a very, very, very well known, music school. Let's put it that way. Very, very well known music school. And I joked around with him, and I said to him, "It seems like all the great guitarists that I know of have some type of Italian heritage." And I said, and he's a classical guy, but I said, you got guys like Joe Pass, Pat Martino, Bucky Pizzarelli, John Pizzarelli, Carcassi Giuliani on the classical realm. And I said, man, there must be some kind of genetic code or something um, that makes these people, or say these Italians, really, really great guitarists and stuff. And they come from a string background and things of that nature. But anyway, let's talk a little bit about that old age argument. So, is it because of your upbringing that you have an advantage biologically, or is it because of the things that you do? So, here's my honest to goodness opinion, or of that, is that it's probably a combination of both, obviously, nature and nurture. So, if your father was a first chair violinist, you end up being a cellist, and you are a first chair cellist, or end up growing that probably meant that the nurture was music was very important to you and to your family, so you had music lessons, good teachers, and you did that. It's not a genetic code. However, though, I thought this was really, really interesting. If you look at Joshua Redman, Joshua Redman's father, for those of you who don't know, and again, I know a lot of you do know, Joshua Redman is a terrific saxophonist who ended up going to Harvard undergrad, and I don't know, he's in his early 50s, late 40s right now. Joshua Redman's father was Dewey Redman. He never knew his father. Okay, so this guy never knew his father. His father was this great, jazz saxophonist. He was raised in California. I don't know his mom, so I'm not gonna call her hippie or anything like that. And she tried to teach him other instruments, but he always gravitated towards the cello. I'm sorry, towards the saxophone. Now his father was this great, saxophonist. He didn't even know who his father was. He wasn't raised with his father. Goes to Harvard, brilliant guy. The reason I know this guy was that he had the opportunity, excuse me, to go to Yale Law School, and instead of going to Yale Law School, said, I'm going to go to New York and play the saxophone a little bit, and he ended up having a terrific, terrific career. Just an excellent saxophone. So you think about it, okay, you have this guy who never knew his father, who was this elite saxophonist. His mom tries to teach him other instruments, never gravitates towards them, doesn't like it, ends up playing the saxophone, okay? And then you're like, okay, so it's just biology. This guy was just wired at some level to play the saxophone and to play jazz. So that's a simplistic way of looking at it. The other way of looking at it is that his mom obviously valued music, thought that it was very important to him, and gave him lessons, and he just liked the saxophone more. But in any event, though, you think of Bucky and John Pizzarelli. Okay, so if you read about their background, John Pizzarelli grew up playing some rock guitar playing, and his father, Bucky Pizzarelli, was always playing all this jazz and all this other stuff. So what did John do? He eventually became a jazz guitarist, and a great jazz guitarist, and like that. So you kind of think, I was like, well, in that household, what determined it? Was it genetics that said that this guy was just going to be a great, guitarist, period? of what the genetics and the environment in and of itself that said that it wasn't just going to be a great guitarist, because at one point John Pizzarelli actually played a lot of rock guitar, but he ended up gravitating towards the jazz guitar. So there's so many stories about this that I feel that at the end of the day that it's probably a combination of both nurture and nature that determines that. So I think the danger into thinking that it's just nurture is that, I'm sorry, in nature. Let's just say nature. I think that one is the big danger. If we think that it's just about nature, if we're not born with a specific skill or talent, that means we can never achieve that skill or talent or that level of competency, right? And there is something to be said about the nature, because anywhere you look at, whether it be in athleticism, musicality, um, even I would dare say, um, you know, intellectual type pursuits, whether it be science, engineering, you see a correlation between somebody's upbringing, what their parents did, what their family did, and them furthering that on. It's almost like saying that if you went to MIT, then your dad probably went to Caltech, or vice versa. So I think that's the danger of thinking that that is the only way to succeed. You're either born with it or you're not. And I really don't believe that at the end of the day. I do think that that's a certain element of it, but I do think at the end of the day, it's a combination of nature or nurture. And I think that is also applicable when it comes to music as well. So anyway, sorry for that long rant. So I hope you enjoyed this, and enjoy your Saturday. Bye now.